Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming back. Um, as promised, last episode, we have some lore that we discovered in our codex, and we're going to get right into that and discover what more lore have we found out, are we going to find out today in this episode. So let's go to our journal. Um, our current quest is actually updated. So right now we have the joining the Grey Wardens. So once I'm finished with the Codex, I'm going to be finding the Grey Warden Alistair. You have arrived at the King's Camp, just outside the Korcari Wilds, in the ruin known as Ostagar. Duncan has told you that when you are ready to begin the joining, you should seek out the Grey Warden named Alistair somewhere in the camp. Perfect. And in joining the Grey Wardens, we will be removing whatever curse befell me whenever I interacted with that mirror that unfortunately took Tamlin's life. So if we go to the Codex tab, we have something in controls, which again, I don't care about that. Um, maybe one day I'll look at the tactics again, just in case if I need to. But this is what I'm interested in here. So we have an Archdemon. These we've already looked at, so Archdemon. Alright, so let's see what Archdemons are all about. In darkness eternal they searched for those who had goaded them on, until at last they found their prize, their god, their betrayer, the sleeping dragon Dumat. Their taint twisted even the false god and the whisperer, awoke at last in pain and horror, and led them to wreak havoc upon all the nations of the world. The first blight. Thernotes 8-7. Interesting. So this is like a poem, kind of in memoriam to the first false god. Um, and by the way, I'm a little bit sick right now, so I apologize if my voice isn't perfect. But they searched for those who had goaded them on. I see. Dumont. Okay. The false dragon gods of the Tevinter Imperium lie buried deep within the earth, where they have been imprisoned since the Maker cast them down. No one knows what it is that drives the Darkspawn in their relentless search for sleeping old gods. Perhaps it is instinct, as moths fly into torch flames. Perhaps there is some remnant of desire for vengeance upon the ones who goaded the Magisters to assault heaven. Whatever the reason, when Darkspawn find one of these ancient dragons, it is immediately afflicted by the taint. It awakens twisted and corrupted, and leads the Darkspawn in a full-scale invasion of the land. A blight. Interesting. So the Darkspawn are actually in search of one of the sleeping old gods that are buried beneath the earth, deep down. Um, and once they find the old god awakens and leads these Darkspawn onto a blight. It's interesting that they're underground when the old gods, or when the gods casted them down. The Maker casted them down. Okay, so Archdemons, that would be the one of the gods, I guess. Okay, so then in culture and history, we have, I've already read those, so it would be this one. We have two. We have Ostagar and the Korcari Wilds. Okay, so Ostagar is the city that I'm currently in. It's kind of a ruined city in the far south. So let's see what it says. Representing the furthest point of encroachment by the ancient Tevinter Imperium into the barbarian lands of the southeast, the fortress of Ostagar was once one of the most important defensive holdings south of the Waking Sea. It stood at the edge of the Korcari Wilds, watching for any sign of invasion by the barbarians known today as the Chastened Wilders. Straddling a narrow pass in the hills, the fortress needed to be bypassed to reach the fertile lowlands to the north, and proved to be exceedingly difficult for the Wilders to attack because of its naturally defensible position. Like most imperial holdings in the south, Ostagar was abandoned after Tevinter collapsed during the First Blight. Okay, so this Ostagar was abandoned during the First Blight. It was successfully sacked by the chastened Wilders, and then, as the chastened threat dwindling following the create as the chastened threat dwindled following the creation of the modern Ferelden nation, fell to ruin completely. So, it was actually abandoned after the first blight, but it was sacked by the chastened Wilders, and I don't know what chastened Wilders are. And then, as the chastened threat dwindled following the creation of the modern Ferelden nation, fell to ruin completely. Right, so the chastened lived here, and then they moved out once the Ferelden nation grew, um, because they could no longer live here safely, I suppose. That means this thing has been here a long time, since the time of the first blight. Alright, so it has remained unmanned for 4 centuries, though most of the walls still stand, as does the tall tower of Ishal, named after the great Archon that ordered its construction. Ostagar remains a testament to the magical power of the Imperium that created it. From Ferelden Folklore and History by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Sister Petrine is on it. She knows so much about the history of this world. I need to speak to her. But okay, so it has remained unmanned for 4 centuries. So when it says it remained unmanned for 4 centuries, I remember that the last blight, the most recent one, happened 4 centuries ago. So the last time this thing was inhabited was 4 centuries ago at the most recent blight. All right, and then we have the Korcari Wilds, which this this fortress here is just on the edge of the Korcari Wilds. It stood at the edge of the Korcari Wilds watching for any sign of invasion. So the Korcari Wilds are to the southeast, I think. I really wish I could show it on the map, but I can't zoom out or in. Alright, so the Korcari Wilds. It is said that in the midst of the Black Age, when werewolves stalked the land of Ferelden in numbers that kept every farmholder indoors and a hound on every doorstep, a powerful Arl of the Ulmeri peoples stood and declared that he would put an end to the threat. His Arling stood on the border of the dark forest on the southern border of the Ferelden Valley, and he claimed that the werewolves used the forest to launch their midnight assaults on humanity. My goodness. So that means in the Black Age, werewolves used this forest as a cover to launch attacks from. For 20 years, the Arl led an army of warriors and hounds deep into the forest. In this hunt for the werewolves, he slew not only every wolf he came upon, but also every member of the chastened wilder folk. Any one of them, he said, could harbor a demon inside and thus be a werewolf in disguise. For 20 years, the forest rang with screams, and the rivers ran red. Jesus. So, 20 years, the Korcari Wilds were invaded and killed as many of the, what is their name? Jesus. The werewolves and the chastened wilders, which I suppose is just some kind of wild folk. Maybe, I don't know if that's elven or human, but chastened wilder folk that lived in the Korcari Wilds. And the Alamari peoples stood and declared he would put an end to the threat. So, I'm really not totally sure who the Alamari are yet. The tales say that an old chastened woman found her sons all dead at the Arl's blades. She pulled one of those very blades from one son's heart and plunged it into her own chest, cursing the Arl's name as she did so. Where her blood touched the ground, a mist began to rise. Excuse me. It spread and spread until it was everywhere in the forest. The Arl's army became lost, and it is said that they died there. Others say that they wandered still. The ruins of his Arling stand to this day, filled with the ghosts of women waiting eternally for their husbands to return. So that means that part of the forest is cursed. because of these chastened. One of the chastened women cursed it by shoving the blade that killed her son into her own chest. And so it's probably dangerous to go into the Korcari Wilds now. The forest of the legend is, of course, the Korcari Wilds. There are as many legends about the great southern forest as there are shadows, or so the saying goes. The chastened wilder folk have made their home there since mankind first came to these lands, and the wildlands spread as far into the south as anyone has ventured. Beyond the mists are the vast tracts of snow, white-capped mountains, and entire fields of ice. It is a land too cold for mankind to survive, yet the chastened eke out an existence even there, and they tell of horrors beyond the wilds that the lowland folk could not begin to comprehend. To most, Ferelden simply ends with the Korcari Wilds. There is nothing beyond. The wilds is a land of great trees, wet marshes, and dangerous monsters. What more needs be said? From Land of the Wilders by Mother Alis, Chantry Scholar, 918 Dragon. Dragon Era. Interesting. So it talks about even beyond the forest, there are locations that are too cold. I guess mountainous locations that are very cold for any human to actually be there. But apparently, even there, the chastened wilder folk eke out an existence. So, but there are maybe great things even there. Okay, interesting. So the Korcari Wilds. Sorry, my cat was being a weirdo. Okay. Okay, so that's awesome. Good to know, good to know. So the Korcari Wilds are filled with those chastened folk. Interesting name. So we have King Cailan Therin, and we have Loghain Mac Tir. So these two characters, this is the king that we talked to earlier. I actually thought he was a commander at first, not the actual king, but I guess he is the actual king, King Cailan Therin. And his advisor, I guess, we'll find out who he is. Okay, King Cailan Therin. I'd hoped for a war like in the tales, a king riding with the fabled Grey Wardens against a tainted god. Yeah, I actually remember him saying that. Son of the legendary King Maric Therin, Cailan was the first Ferelden king born into a land free from foreign rule in 2 generations. Since his father's death, he's held the throne alongside his queen, Anora. Okay, so his queen is Anora. Okay. But he's actually inherited a free place. And then Loghain Mac Tir. It takes more than legends to win a battle. Loghain was born a farmer during a time when his country was under foreign occupation. When he was still a boy, he joined the resistance, where his considerable tactical genius quickly became apparent. He became close friends with Prince Maric, the last true heir of the Ferelden throne, and together they led the rebels to drive out the forces of the Orlesian Empire. Maric raised his friends to the nobility, and Loghain is now more of a symbol than a man. He represents the Ferelden ideas of hard work and independence. Interesting. So they're like best friends, I guess. And they drove out the Orlesian Empire together. Amazing. I can't wait to talk more to them, to see what they are like and what their dynamic is like. So we have someone to talk to here. We have the Kennel Master. There's Duncan, I can see him. There's dogs, and others that are maybe training. We have a nice camp here, a nice fireplace. We have bedrolls to sleep in. My goodness, this place feels alive. Got a fire with Duncan there, enjoying the fire. That's the Korcari Wilds. Wow. It is amazing. We actually get to go to the Korcari Wilds. I'm not going to go yet. I'll speak to Duncan briefly.
You found our tent, I see. Is there something you need?
Well, I had a few questions.
Alistair can help you with those. I had hoped he would be back by now.
I see. I'll go find him. Thank you, Duncan. Just gonna explore a little bit, see what's all here. We've got Loghain's Guard, King's Guard. We have these beautiful statues, beautiful monuments, statues. Really is I can't imagine how I can only imagine how beautiful it was. What is that?
Look carefully, man. This wretched thing is a darkspawn. They're strong and cunning and smart, but don't listen to those old wives' tales. They can be killed. Stick them with your sword enough, and they go down. Their blood is black as sin and poisonous. Don't even touch it. You get tainted with that blood, and you may as well slit your throat. We've lost many dogs already. Had to muzzle them to keep them from biting. It's a long and painful way to die.
My goodness. They found one and they're trying to educate the soldiers. Okay, so this one's not good enough. Excuse me. Its damage is not as good as mine. I did realize, but when watching an earlier episode, there was actually a bow that I should have picked up. It had all the same stats as mine, but it also had a small bonus to something that it had like a buff on it that this one doesn't.
This is supposed to be the battle that sends these darkspawn back underground. You believe that?
I don't know what to believe. We've won every battle, but there's more of them each time.
Makes you wonder if them Grey Wardens are right.
I don't want to think about that.
Sounds like the perfect time to get drunk, if you ask me.
You know, drinking is... You need to stay vigilant. You need to keep a close eye on those wilds. Who knows what could be out there. And we must be ready at a moment's notice. Man, look at these structures. Look at these beautiful structures. Whoa, there's a woman praying. A priest? Maybe I shouldn't bother her.
Of course.
I don't have the strength to wear it.
Blessed are the peacekeepers, the champions of the just. Though all before me is darkness, yet shall the Maker's light be my guide.
Indeed. I apologize for bothering you. Please keep praying. We need every bit of help we can get. Well, I appreciate that there's at least somebody praying to the gods. My God, look at these wilds. I actually can see an old ruin in the wilds. But who knows how dangerous it is out there. Darkspawn. Infected. The inflicted. This place that has so much history. The arches, the stone. So much has happened here. And it's so mysterious out in the wilds. Okay. I've seen what I needed to see. We have the archers training on the training dummies. They are making sure that their arrows are flying true with practice. The way of the arrow.
There are lots of darkspawn, different kinds. We're getting reports of things we've never even heard of. Our short friend here, for instance, is something called a genlock. They're pretty common in the Horde, but larger. We don't know where these new darkspawn are coming from, or what they can do. All I can say is to use caution. There aren't any we've seen that won't die once they bleed enough.
A Ginlock. I've been pronouncing it as Ginlock, but it's actually Ginlock. The way he pronounced it was Ginlock. That guard.
You approach the tent of Therin Loghain. State your business.
I'm just curious, can you tell me about Therin Loghain?
How can you not know of Loghain? He helped free Ferelden. He was the brains behind King Maric's armies and drove out those damned Orlesians. King Maric rewarded him by making him a Therin. Can you imagine? A commoner became a high nobleman just like that. Without Loghain, you can bet the king wouldn't be winning against these darkspawn.
I see. Is the Tavern inside? What is he doing?
He's inside, but I don't think it's my place to discuss his activities.
I see. But surely, you know, you can tell me just a little bit about him.
I suppose, as long as we talk quietly. He and the king have been arguing for days. The Terran's known the king since he was swaddled, so they don't stand on ceremony. The Terran speaks his mind, and the king yells right back. Personally, I think the king should do what Therin Loghain tells him. Without the Terran, we wouldn't be doing as well here as we are.
I see. I should go. Thank you.
Very well.
I don't want an audience with him just yet. I don't have a good reason for having an audience with him. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to this Kennel Master.
Do not abandon us in our darkest hour. Watch over
Kennels?
the valiant King Cailan and guide him as he faces this terror.
This isn't good. I'd hate to waste such a promising member of the breed. Are you the new warden? I could use some help.
What's the issue?
This is a Mabari. Smart breed and strong. His owner died in the last battle, and the poor hound swallowed darkspawn blood. I have medicine that might help, but I need him muzzled first.
Ah, I see. So, why do you think I could muzzle him?
You're a Grey Warden, or soon will be. All wardens are immune to the darkspawn taint. The most you have to worry about is some tooth marks.
Really? And just how smart is this dog?
Centuries ago, a mage bred them to be smart and understand what they're told. They can remember and carry out complex orders. Most valuable dogs in the world. Trouble is, they generally imprint to one master. Re-imprinting them is very difficult. But without the medicine, re-imprinting won't be an issue. Will you help?
I see. Alright, I'll give it a shot.
Go in the pen and let him smell you. We'll know right away if he'll respond. Let's hope this works. I'd really hate to have to put him down.
Oh my god. It's like a giant pit bull. The dog looks up at you respectfully, backing down from his aggressive stance. You can see intelligence in his eyes, as well as a great deal of pain. The animal is very ill. It's okay, buddy.
Well done. Now I can treat the dog properly, poor fella. Come to think of it, are you heading into the wilds anytime soon?
Well, I could be. I'm not totally sure yet. It is dangerous out there. But I could be. Why?
There's a particular herb I could use to improve the dog's chances. It's a flower that grows in the swamps here, if I remember. If you happen across it, I could use it. It's very distinctive, all white with a blood-red center.
All white with a blood-red center. I mean, I know this seems like an odd question, but will he be fine without it?
If he doesn't get it, chances are he'll need to be put down.
And, I think you said near swamps? Where exactly in the wilds would I find this flower?
It usually grows in dead wood that collects at the edge of ground pools. Should be plenty this time of year.
I see. Why don't you get it yourself?
The wilds are off limits to non-soldiers, and I have many other hounds under my care.
Alright. If I can, I will. I'll see if I can find one.
Good. In the meantime, I'll begin treating our poor friend.
Well, that's interesting. Codex update, I'm going to be reading that. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cough. But, that's interesting. So, I do plan on eventually going into the Korcari Wilds, but it's incredibly dangerous out there. Who knows what's out there? And I'm supposed to go out there in search of a flower for a dog? Now, I understand that these Mabari hounds could be very helpful for our cause. They could be imprinted with the Grey Warden and used as a hound to hunt the Darkspawn. So they are very valuable. So, because of that, I will give it my best shot, but I must be careful out there. Okay, so let's see. We've got a new quest, the Mabari Hound. We have to gather the strange flower from the wilds. The Kennel Master at the King's Camp has a Mabari, a hound bred for intelligence and combat ability. It has been poisoned by Darkspawn blood. You have muzzled the hound, but the Kennel Master needs a flower that grows in the wilds to treat him properly. The flower is white, with a red center. Okay, but I'm not going to go out into the wilds just yet. I'm technically not even a Grey Warden. So I needed to speak to Alistair. Oh wait, did I don't want to miss, I think I missed something on the Codex. Yes, creatures. The Mabari Hound. Dogs are an essential part of Ferelden culture, and no dog is more prized than the Mabari. The breed is as old as myth, said to have been bred from the wolves who served Dane. Prized for their intelligence and loyalty, these dogs are more than mere weapons or status symbols. The hounds choose their masters and pair with them for life. To be the master of a Mabari anywhere in Ferelden is to be recognized instantly as a person of worth. The Mabari are an essential part of Ferelden military strategy. Trained hounds can easily pull knights from horseback or break lines of pikemen, and the sight and sound of a wave of war dogs howling and snarling has been known to cause panic among even the most hardened infantry soldiers. My goodness, that's why it's so important that I help that dog, because I'm sure it could be invaluable to our efforts against the Darkspawn. Alright, but I must speak to Alistair. Because now, I need to become a Grey Warden first. After I become a Grey Warden and get through my ceremony, then I will head out into the wilds. But first I must speak to Alistair. Now, we are coming up on 30 minutes here, so I'm going to end it here. And next episode, we are going to talk to Alistair, and we're going to try to become a Grey Warden. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.